Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Rediscovering Your Passion and Purpose with Patty. I am your host, Patty Stuhlin, and I am the Chief Pathfinder of Pathways with Patty. And, it is a wonderful Wednesday here. No matter what day of the week that you may be listening to, I know that each one of our episodes gets dropped on a Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock Pacific time. So it just so happens it is Wednesday that we are doing this podcast episode. And I have to say already, before we even start this podcast today, this recording, I have got the hugest smile on my face because of my guest. You just look at her and you can tell she radiates sunshine. So it is my privilege and honor today to introduce my guest, Nada Mesqui. Oh, I see, I'm going to mess it up. Oh, man. Mesqui. Oh, my gosh. See, I already did it. Oh, my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
And we just talked about messing up last names, and here I am. See, that tells you exactly how human I am, because I'm not going to edit this out. I'm going to
no,
apologize
please.
right
Yes.
now. So, but Nada, she was a high executive and is now an embodiment coach, mentor, and teacher. After a chronic burnout, she realized she needed to create more ease in her life. She became a devoted, sacred athlete and turned to her body's wisdom for self-healing. This is how her Raindrop Movement was born. Nada, I'm going to tell you right now, I am hugely apologizing. I should have, I Hooked on Phonics works for me, and I should have phonetically spelled out your last name, because I just asked you before we got on here how to say your last name correctly. And still, I did my original thing that I said I wasn't going to do. How are you today? And please say
So
your last
good.
name correctly.
And you know what? I took the traditional route of taking my husband's name, who is French. And French people just have this magical gift of complicating everything, including last names. So I totally understand the confusion, and it would be right to pronounce it Mesqui.
Mesqui.
All
Mesqui.
these
Well,
extra letters are really not necessary.
well, they want to use as much of the alphabet as possible, right? It's all a good thing. And thank you for being such a good sport about it. Because as we just talked about, people my whole life have been adding letters into my last name or spelling it in ways that I never even imagined. But anyways, thank you for being a good sport about that. How are you doing today?
Well, it's late where I am in Amsterdam, so I am a little bit tired, but feeling super full with an amazing day. Lots of great projects happening. I've also witnessed my youngest kid play his first football game, so there's like a whole afterglow of that. It's been so far a great day, and I have this pleasure of finishing up with this lovely conversation. So thank you
Uh,
for having me.
Well, thank you so much. As I've been telling many of you listeners out there, the thing that's been so exciting and so fun for season 2 of Rediscovering Your Passion and Purpose with Patty is the fact that we are truly going global. And as Nada had just said, she is in Amsterdam. And as I've said before with a couple of my other guests, this is where I believe technology is really its finest. I
Yeah.
mean, to think that here I am in Southern California and you are in Amsterdam, and we are connecting in time at the same time, almost a world apart from one another. And to get to share this moment with you and have you share your story about your passion and purpose and rediscovering your passion and purpose through all of your life experiences, I'm excited for our guests to hear what you are doing and what you've been doing, and telling us a little bit more about this whole Raindrop Movement, because it is exciting. I know a little bit about it, but I'm excited for my listeners to find out exactly what that means. So with that said, please, tell our audience about yourself and about your story.
Whoa, that's such a big question. Let me take a breath.
We're diving right into it. We're not wasting any
Oh,
time
she's
here.
gonna um, So movement has always been a big part of my life. When I was about 3 years old, I remember watching what I think was ballet and turning back to my dad and saying, "Daddy, Daddy, this is me."
Mhm.
He looked at me. Oh, you meant you would like to be a dancer? No, no, I am a dancer.
You knew it already.
I knew it on some level, and then we could go into if it's remembrance, past lives, whatever. But I just felt so connected to this idea of expressing my emotions through movement. That was something that always spoke to me. And even though I was never much of a good dancer, to be very honest, it always was an important outlet. What
Mm,
might have been therapy, movement, and dance was that for me from a very early age. And then adulthood kicked in, and those kind of playful, pleasurable activities were
mhm,
just forgotten because somewhere along the way we got this narrative that adulthood has nothing to do with play. And I started my corporate career and was kind of climbing up the ladder as one again thought it should do to have a
mhm.
happy, successful life. And then I found myself burning out at very young age of 30 after having my first child and thinking that I could just pick up where I left off and continue working 50 hours a week.
Mm,
And that was a moment where I just felt kind of left by all the systems, by the organizational system, by the health system. It was really a moment for me to realize, for the potentially first time in my life, how marginalized women, and especially women that are also mothers, can feel in today's society. And so I decided to take my health and my well-being in my own hands, and I
mm,
started looking into ways that can help me, that didn't feel like just this temporary patch of taking medication that honestly just didn't resonate with how I saw my path to healing.
mhm.
And I remembered that I love to dance.
Yeah,
I
congrats.
remembered for almost 20 years of my life, that was my therapy. And so I started going back to that, and I became truly a sacred athlete, meaning like this really devoted student of all things somatic, healing, dance therapy, conscious movement. I started just kind of soaking up as much of it as I could, while also continuing my career in a different direction that went more into women empowerment and leadership coaching. And so I was already starting the road that I needed.
So
They
so
say,
i so in your 30s, you're already realizing, number 1, that you're burning out, and number 2, it's a reawakening of a passion that you had had since you were 3 years old. I mean, that's pretty remarkable because I know for most of us women, many times it's not until our late 40s or 50s before we start realizing that. So you actually kinda got a head start in your 30s by becoming aware and awakened to that.
thank you for saying that. I guess one could look at it that way, and it's a very generous perspective. But what I noticed I had in common with those women in 40s and 50s is that my body was failing me.
Okay.
Or at least that was, how I interpret
Your
it.
perception, yeah.
Exactly. All of a sudden, I couldn't sleep. I was chronically exhausted. I was just waking up with almost like a question, like, what's the point? Yes, I realized I had this beautiful husband and beautiful children, but there was no life force in me. And I
Mhm,
thought something has to be wrong with me. It cannot
mhm.
be just this hormonal disbalance or something that I'm going through, or
It's
just
not premenopause.
not, yeah, exactly. But I think women often are forced to begin their awakening journey because their bodies just quit. and they say
Mhm.
you cannot continue this way. You cannot
Right.
continue in this toxic masculine go 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 mode while being in a feminine body. It just will not work. And so
Yeah.
the age could be different, as you said, but the problems that I was experiencing were very much the same, or very,
Mhm.
very similar with anybody who would go through perimenopause or menopause, and not having any real guidance, or not even having a space to talk about it and to be really heard,
Mhm. Right,
really
right, right.
deeply understood. And so that became my passion, my drive, and that's where Raindrop Movement came from, because I realized that my journey is unfortunately not unique. My
Mm-mm.
challenges are what every single being in feminine body faces, and we live in a society that unfortunately has not yet created safety around it, and so women feel a lot of shame talking about it. They feel like it's still a taboo, and I wanted to do whatever I can in my little life to change that. And
What
so
why do you think, or why do you feel that it is so taboo? Because I mean, I used to, I mean, I'm 62, but the thing that I've always heard is, oh, women just never talked about that. We were never encouraged to talk about that. And it was generational type of thing. And I know that it's getting talked about more, but why do you think that still in today's with all the social media and all the different outlets, why do you think that it is still somewhat taboo for women to express the things that you're talking about?
well, I think it's just because we are kind of coming out of this big big cycle of living in a stage where nothing that's connected to the feminine, and when I say feminine, I don't mean just women, I mean that energy of feminine in this
Mhm.
world, that's anything that's connected to nature, to sensing, to feeling, to the mood. All of that was completely not just neglected, but deemed and judged as less worthy than the intellect and the power of the masculine. And
Mhm.
so we have kind of lost touch with it, because we believe that in order for us to actually be functional in this world, we needed to be as men, as those who are making it in this
Okay.
world.
Right.
And anything that is hidden, anything that is unspoken, eventually becomes this black hole of shame, even
Mhm.
if there is nothing truly to be ashamed,
Right.
because it's considered inappropriate or considered less worthy than talking about achievements and money and power. We
Mhm.
just neglect it. And after, I think, hundreds of years of doing that, it's so deeply ingrained in the fabric of our society that it will take some time for it
Mhm.
to come out, and not just come out, but for it to be welcomed and embraced
Right.
and celebrated, because
Right.
there's so much there to be truly celebrated.
Yeah. And it takes people like you to make it okay to be able to impress upon women that it's okay to look for help or resources to find out that you're not crazy, you're not making these things up, that there is a physical and mental reason behind all of it, and to get rid of that stigma that when you're seeking help, that does not make you less than. It actually makes you more powerful. It empowers you.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, there's so much now. I would say the last 10 years, there's a lot of research that's actually proving how much women can have been, I don't want to use the word discriminated, but honestly, just misunderstood, simply because all of the research that has been done, even in major medical the studies, have been done solely on men, and this big part of feminine biology is just missing, which
Mm,
means that women have been prescribed antidepressants when actually their hormones need balancing,
Right.
so
Yes. Yes.
and that's been going on for decades and decades and decades. And
I can relate to that. I am one of those people. That's exactly what happened in my case.
there you go. There you go. So you have this personal experience, and it's just because society lacks knowledge of feminine biology.
Yes. Yeah.
And it lacks spaces for that to be discovered, discussed, shared, and for all of us to learn from each
Mhm.
other.
So is that really kind of the basis then of the rainbow movement is to empower women to take care and seek ways to help themselves and to help each other?
Well, there's definitely a part of that. I would say what's at the very core of Raindrop Movement is giving tools and space for women to create the body that is truly a reflection of the soul, of the feminine spirit that
Mm,
lives inside of it.
okay.
And we do that through ancient tools. I haven't invented anything new. These
Mhm.
these are beautiful tools that were there available for hundreds of years ago, like meditation, like um, free movement, like going deep inside of us and actually speaking to our body, speaking to our womb, speaking to our throat, speaking to our internal systems, creating that conscious connection and regulating ourselves from the inside with the power of our nervous system, with the power of our emotions, with the power of our energy.
Mhm.
It seems maybe woo woo when I say it this way for people who are unfamiliar with it. However, it's what somatics is based upon. It is based upon our capacity to tune into those finer sensations in our body and to be able to interpret them and actually work with them rather than ignoring them, which is
Wow.
something we're very good at.
Well, and isn't it ironic that as you just called them, these ancient techniques, it's like everything old is new again because someone like you has taken the time to search out non non medication routes
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
help people because I mean these were all, as you said, they were all ways that were working for people, centuries ago. And yet
Mhm.
with modern medicine and everything, I guess everybody just figured, oh, well, that was the easier and better route to go. But is it really easier or better? I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think a lot of the beautiful new discoveries that we are seeing now are just some kind of a remix of something that existed. And yes, we need people who are actually willing to do the research and willing to put their time and energy and to bring them today. Especially because what's really fun in the time that we're living is that the science is studying most of the things that we used to think, even myself, just 10 years ago, as completely esoteric or completely almost like unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now there's way to measure our electromagnetic field. Now there's a way to measure our energetic body, our emotional body. Now we know that we are made of energy, and so as that we can work with every part of our body because it's just a collection of different cells that are energy vibrating at a specific frequency. So once we understand that, or at least open ourselves to the possibility of that, then there's truly no limit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limit in our capacity to self heal. And I'm not saying that in some cases, movement is enough. traditional medicine has amazing tools, and when
Mm-hmm.
it's really needed, it is, I'm the first one to be incredibly grateful for it. I'm just saying that it should not be a patch, and it should not be a lazy way out that is preventing us from connecting to the deeper issues that are stored in our body,
Right. Right.
because it's so easy.
It is. Yes, it is. Take two of these and call me in the morning type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so easy, and deep down we are still completely lost, unhappy, and just trying to figure out how to get through the next day, and that's not how it's supposed to be.
Right. So backing up a little bit. So here you are, you're in your 30s, you know that your life is not going in the direction that you know that it needs or wants to go. You rediscover your love for dance. And it's leading into these other things, but really what was your aha moment that the business side of what, the rat race that you were involved in, that all needed to change? What exactly was your aha moment?
I don't know if I had the aha moments, or it was a series of different tiny aha moments.
Okay, good.
I
Okay.
think that's more what it looked like for me, because when you when I approached this whole new possibility in my life of leaving what was so familiar and honestly really comfortable in terms of financial stability, in terms of just knowing, seeing the path ahead,
Mm-hmm.
um, I had no idea what, this could look like. I had no idea if there is a this. I just knew that the way I was functioning is detrimental to my soul, to my body, to my mind, to my heart. And it just, an option to continue doing the same thing was no longer an option for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I started just following the next right step. Literally, that was my strategy for good 3 4 years. I would do this program, figure out a little piece of it, see how I can incorporate that in how I was already working with women through leadership coaching. Then I would, follow another thing that my heart was pulling me towards. I would see if that can be incorporated a little bit. And I think a series of these next right steps just over time accumulated into something that seemed so obvious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But of course, if I didn't go through that journey, I would have probably never gotten there. And so I remember this one moment specifically. I was doing a really beautiful 12-month leadership program, and they were asking us at the end of this program to share our most vulnerable self without words.
Mm.
And I did that through movement. And there was this energy that was created in the field, um, that was just palpable energy of something greater than us. There was
Mm-hmm.
something in the space where we didn't need words. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew in that moment, okay, this is what movement does. This is the power of conscious movement. And I think we spend so much time talking.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are talking. And I really wanted to give space for women to take away the words so that they can rest into the beautiful depth of their hearts and see what comes out of there.
Mm-hmm.
No
Wow.
analyzing, no overthinking. You just come to the mat and you follow the lead of your body.
In a sense, how I'm relating to this, because with dance, I always feel like I have two left feet. Not that I don't enjoy it, but but where I find kind of the same thing that you're describing, when I was really getting burnt out on teaching, a very dear friend of mine, Sue Connor, had said, "Patty, you need to do Zen doodling." I was like, "Well, what's that?" And she said, "Just take a pen or pen and paper and just start drawing. There is no right or wrong. Just get it out there on paper." And I thought, are you kidding me? And I'd always been a drawer, but I'm just thinking just to draw, to just do whatever. And that was almost 10 years ago. And I can say that it just exactly how you're doing, even though I'm not moving my entire body, I am moving my hand and pen on paper, and it doesn't matter what I do, it's just coming out at that moment. And my mom is always saying, "I don't know how you come up with all these designs or these things that you do." It's the same thing. It's just coming out of me. And then it is an expression. So on that term, that's how I'm understanding and relating to what you are saying here.
Totally. And embodiment can have many different shapes and forms. Movement just seems to be the one that speaks to me and that I'm here to offer. But breath work, sound, doodling, drawing, sculpture making, like all
Mhm.
of these things are a way for us to truly connect to our body and to be in it, to
Mhm.
inhabit it fully. And when we do any of those things with intention and with presence, there's always beautiful gifts that come from it.
Well, and I think too, so many times in our society, I can only speak in my part of the United States in California, they've taken away and they continue to take away so many of the elective classes that focus on creativity, whether it's the dance classes, the singing classes, the art classes, all of that sort of thing, because it needs to all be about the academics. And I mean, don't get me wrong, academics is very, very important. However, I think just as important are the things that help kids and people get in touch with their creative side, because I think that can do just as much, if not more, for us mentally, physically, and spiritually than the academic part of it as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think capitalism is definitely seeping in the message of productivity over pleasure of any kind in
Right.
every possible way. And that's again another way in which the toxic masculinity is taking over the feminine parts of our
Mm-hmm.
collective, because that ambition, that drive, that academics, that's the masculine, very unhealthy in
Right.
so, in this degree, right?
Right.
Again,
Right. Right.
nothing wrong with it, but it's about finding a harmony, finding that dynamic balance between the two, right? We need
Right.
both. And we have just gone onto the extreme where it's all about it's all about achievement, it's all about doing, it's all about that next thing, more is better. Like all of these stereotypical statements are there because they're unfortunately true
Yes.
in
Yes.
our collective, and how we have been guided and conditioned to live our life, which is also why um, most of the young people that I work with, and something that I'm incredibly in awe of, I have, women in their 20s who are so advanced in terms of their consciousness, in terms of how they prioritize self-care, how they prioritize their space and their mindfulness, how good they are with their boundaries and saying no. Like those are the things that I just started learning in my 40s.
Mhm. Right. Well, and I think for many of us, women anyways, we think that probably looking at these women in their 20s, that's where, I hear many people say, "Oh, well, they're very selfish." And they're not being selfish. It's just that they're in tuned with themselves more than any other generation that has
Yes.
existed to this point.
Yeah, and honestly, like they're looking at us and they're thinking, that's not how I want to live my life. Like there's gotta
Right.
be more to this
Right. Yes.
than that.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And yeah, I have a lot of faith. There's often these discussions where people are critical about these new generations, but I look at them and I have so much faith and so much hope in our world because they are more connected to the planet. They care more about the earth than anybody of our generation did.
Hmm.
And they are really braving out there, really going against the grain and putting their mental health and their overall well-being quite seriously and taking it really in a way that it should and deserves to be taken. So I
Right.
applaud that.
So through your awakening, did it affect your relationship with your husband, and how was he, and how was he doing through this transformation that you were going through?
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful question. um Well, there were definitely different moments. I think there were moments in which we noticed that we are drifting apart because I think that's what happens every time that you have a part of the system or one
Hmm.
partner that's doing their inner work and going to the depths of their soul, and the other one that's kind of still in that place of, ego or duality or simply fine as they are.
Hmm. Right.
So we went through ebbs and flows of that process. And I mean, looking back, this decade has been truly amazing because I see that my partner has not only followed my lead in his own pace and in his own way, right?
Hmm.
Because there's no one awakening journey that looks the same as the other,
Right.
but has always, even when he could not understand a word of what I was saying, because there were moments where he would just be looking at me like, I have no idea what you just said, but I'm so happy you shared it with me,
Uh-huh. He wasn't sure what language you were speaking, but
So he always really held me beautifully with a lot of um, compassion, a lot of empathy, a lot of permission for me to just
hmm.
be and go through whatever I needed to go through. And I think we're still navigating that, to be honest, and we probably will for the rest of
Right.
our relationship. But there is a level of deepening trust, vulnerability, the capacity to really see one another and
Wow.
to be with that has grown immensely. And I'm so, so grateful for that.
And do you also find that with this new awakening of yourself that you are very conscious about how you are raising your son when it comes to working with or being with females?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes even too much. I don't know about you, but I do have those moments in which being so aware and so conscious almost like takes away that carefreeness and that joy of just being with these amazing human beings. There's always like,
Hmm.
oh, but if I say that, if I say
Right.
but yeah, we are definitely doing our very best to pay attention of how the world is trying to divide us by gender and in many other different ways. I mean, look at what's happening in today's world. It's just
Hmm.
horrific. There
Hmm.
is this forced separation and division through every layer of our collective, and we are really making a lot of effort in helping them just understand that there's so much beauty in uniqueness, and there's so much value in diversity. And this is honestly one of the main reasons why we chose to live in Amsterdam, because I feel this city embodies that so
Mm.
beautifully. There is
Wow.
there is this incredible space for all of these different cultures, nations, offerings, and they all feel like they can take space and somehow coexist incredibly harmonious way. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the main reason why we chose this city for our boys, because that's the environment that we want them to grow up in.
Wow, that's powerful. So through all of this time that you're going through this, was that when you were realizing this about yourself, was it also the same time that you realized that you wanted to be able to help others? Or is your passion for helping others something that's always been a part of your journey?
Yes, thank you for that question. That's really beautiful distinction. It was always a part of my journey. Always. I I was pretty much a therapist, I think, since I was 8 years old.
Mhm, mhm,
I always remember having, what my parents used to call an old soul, but just this real capacity to be with whomever and whatever was in front of me, and this real ease of truly connecting to another human being, um, and this love for connection. Like
mhm,
this is truly what I think life is all about spreading love through that deep, authentic connection with each other, with the world around us. And so, even when I was working in my corporate job, I oriented myself towards being a corporate trainer, which meant that I was helping other business developers or sales executives, with their confidence, with the way that they were taking up space, with the way that they were communicating and expressing myself. So most of my corporate work was really around that. And I guess that's very much connected to personal development as well. It was just a little bit
mhm.
different package.
Yeah. So when people want to work with you, is it like a life coaching thing, or what is it that exactly, if somebody decides that they want to work with you, what is it that you do?
Yeah. So the main reason why somebody would want to work with me is they're a woman who has lost the connection with their body, and they know it. Like they
Mhm,
actually feel that disconnection on a visceral level, and they also know that there's value is in coming back to it, because it's in a way coming back home. And
mhm,
so we work on finding and reconnecting women to that innate, beautiful, embodied wisdom in them, because I've learned and I've seen time and time again that what what the mind is trying to figure out, body already knows.
mm. Wow.
It really, really, truly, that's like the simple essence of my work, and in approaching and in helping women come back to their bodies, they discover that they're uh, easier in making big life decisions. There's less energy spent on overthinking. There is this intuitive, clear voice, clear yes or no that they only need to follow and listen to, and life becomes a flow.
Mhm,
All the resistance that we encounter lives in our mind. And
mhm.
yes, of course, we need our mind, but we don't need to be ruled by it.
Right. Okay. Good.
So yeah, I love helping women and working with them one on one, and I also offer many different other group programs for women who are really craving, sorority or sisterhood of every kind, who want to be in those safe circles where they can connect, share, and heal together. There's a beautiful space that I offer every 3 months online, so it's truly available wherever in the world you're in.
Mm,
And yes, there's other things that are more of use for those who may be already working as a holistic practitioner, as a coach, as a yoga instructor, energy healer, um, whatever type of being in service to the humankind, and
mhm,
want to really learn more about embodiment and how they can incorporate more body wisdom in their practice. There is a certification program that's actually accredited by International Coaching Federation that I
Oh,
also offer. So a lot of
wow.
fun.
Yeah. So when someone begins to work with you, is it a designated, like, this is 6-week program or 3-month program, or is it just however long it takes for that person to work with you?
Yeah, well, we start with 6 sessions, and
Mm-hmm.
honestly, because that's kind of the minimum to see any level of change, we need to accept that um, working with the body requires a little bit of a slower pace, just because our emotional, physical body works slower than our mental body. So
Right, right.
it's a more it's a softer approach, and it does require time. So if somebody is not committed to work with me for at least 6 sessions, I don't really see why we would work together.
Right.
And I'm adamant of that being the minimum investment, if somebody's serious
Mm-hmm.
to step into this journey. And then it takes as long as it takes, in a sense that we define our goals together, and then we check in on those goals. And sometimes, after 3 months, they are there. And sometimes we work maybe for 6 months or for 9 months, just depending
Mm-hmm.
on the journey itself, and how it emerges and how it takes us. But yes, I really, really hope and try my best to equip my clients with tools so that they don't need me, because we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to create that codependency relationship. We want to
Right.
empower women, give them practices that they can do on their own, so that they, feel that inner strength and inner authority and inner trust.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, nobody can heal nobody.
Yes. Yeah.
We
Yes.
all have to do the work on our own. I'm just
Right.
here to maybe shorten it, and give you a type of guidance that you might not be able to give to yourself in this specific moment for a specific period of time. And after that, I trust that the rest of the work can be done on your own.
Well, and it sounds like wherever anybody is at whatever stage of their life, that you have a program built for every body, no pun intended. But
I love all the fun.
but I mean, that's what's most important, because I think a lot of times with a lot of trainers or coaches, that their program is built specifically, they have one program for one type of thing, where with you really are, when you meet the person, you find out where they are, and then from that how to move forward with them, with the variety of trainings or courses that you offer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's very correct.
Awesome. Um, what would you say has been the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given you?
When in doubt, chill the fuck out.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yes. Now that is quite the advice.
I'm so sorry. I dropped the bomb.
No, do not be sorry. I mean, you're saying it how it really is. I love that.
And there's a context to that. The context to that is actually really simple, and it is our language. Our body speaks in very simple language. Our body speaks in a yes or a no.
Mm-hmm.
Our body does not know a maybe.
Oh,
It
yeah.
either opens up, or something softens, or there's a little bit of heat in your body, which is a symptom of a yes. Oh, that sounds good. That feels good. Or it
Mhm.
either closes up, constricts, tenses up. There's a little bit of maybe density or metallic feeling in your body. That's a body no, right?
Mhm, mhm.
If you do not know, if you are in doubt, that simply means your body needs more information. Your
Yeah,
body just needs a little bit more time to
right.
show you the way. So chill out. Rest. And when you know, you will know. And you when you start working with the language of the body, it's really beautiful to see how quickly the body responds. Even if we have been numbed out or disassociated or completely frozen for decades, the moment you open yourself up to listening, the body is just, oh, so generous, so
Mm-hmm.
generous. And
Well,
it's
Well, I
beautiful.
think in generic terms, a lot of us say, "Oh, I had that gut feeling," and
Yeah.
that's really what you need to be more in tune to is that gut feeling or that gut reaction, correct?
Totally, absolutely, yes. And there's, more subtle ways of describing that and getting more familiar with it. And there's practices that we can do to actually reinforce it so that we can recognize it. But yes, it is absolutely that intuition or that internal felt sense or body resonance, or there's so many different ways that we call that inner knowing, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Hmm.
all ultimately very similar and connected.
Wow, that's cool. So what would you say that currently, where you're at right now in your life, what are you passionate about personally and professionally?
I am really passionate about um, creating spaces for women to feel safe, like they belong, and like they are worthy. Like
Mm,
that is absolutely those three things. When women feel safe in their bodies, in their world, in any space that they occupy, when they feel like they belong and they absolutely deserve to be there, when they feel like they're enough, they're worthy just as they are, women are amazing. There is
mm-hmm.
no limit to what they can do, achieve, create. And so I see, this phase of my life truly being as um, a phase to create as many spaces, individual, group, team spaces for women to fully relax into those three things that are theirs and have always been theirs, and they just grew up in a society that has somehow taught them differently. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm passionate personally. That's what I'm passionate professionally. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be in that place in my life where I feel so equipped and so supported in that.
Wow, that's beautiful. So what would you say that right now where you are in your life, what do you believe to be your purpose personally and professionally?
I think it's connected to what I said about Raindrop Movement. My purpose is to help the soul that lives inside of this body become more visible. And
Hmm.
the way that I seem to do it most easily is through movement. And again, I do believe, and I know so many beautiful practitioners that are doing similar things in different ways.
Hmm.
And it's just because the world needs more of that. We have lost touch with our hearts, we have lost touch with our soul. And whichever way you can find, or any of the listeners can find, to get back to that sacred space, please do that more. Please do
Hmm.
that because every little bit counts, and your connection to your source impacts somebody else's connection to theirs because we are
Yes,
all connected.
yes. Amen to that. So, Nada, what would you say is your superpower?
Oh my goodness. It's a great question. I think grace.
Mm, wow, that's good. We could use more of that.
I think, and I've been reflected that I have an amazing group of women who are my super girls, and we meet very often to just share whatever life throws at us. And I've held this beautiful global summit for women in the weekend of autumn equinox, and I was left after it with a little bit of almost the feeling like, but is that enough? Yes, I've gathered these amazing speakers, and we had women from all over the world share, learn, exchange. And I was still in that, is it enough though? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was truly reminded of that superpower of how much grace I hold for everybody who steps into my spaces, and how much grace I need to hold for myself as well, because
Right.
we are enough and we are doing enough.
Wow. Good for you. How would you say that you are living your best life, or as I like to say, living your best dash?
In really, really simple ways, like um, having a cup of delicious fresh mint tea.
Mm,
Uh, you know, putting a little essential oil on my palms just before this conversation. I think those dash moments for me are very much connected to my senses, and connected to savoring life through those beautiful senses
mhm.
in every way that I can. Maybe after this conversation, I'll go and enjoy a nice glass of red wine, and that
Right.
will be.
Good for you. Yes, I love that. Excellent. Well, are there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience?
Hmm. I would just love to invite them to really return home to their bodies. There
Mhm.
is no teacher, there is no guru on the outside, there is no new skill, there's no new socioeconomical program or cultural shift. Like, if we do not collectively return back to connecting to our senses, to our feelings, to our emotion, to our energy, I don't really see how things can get better.
Mhm.
And I think that's truly, and I don't mean to sound, pessimistic, but the way that things get better is by us reconnecting to all of us. And we have
Right.
just forgotten. We've been living from the waist up or from the neck up
Mhm.
way too long. And
Yes.
that needs to change. So find
Yes.
a way, whether it's painting, whether it's moving, whether it's walking, whether it's going on YouTube and putting somatic practices to return into my body.
Mhm.
There's so much already out there. So just take a moment to slow down and reconnect to yours.
Wow. Beautiful once again. Thank you so much, Nada, for being my guest today. Your grace shines through very, very brightly, and it has been a joy to have you on the podcast today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Patty, for bringing people to people and
Mm,
for truly allowing us to learn from each other, to connect over this beautiful globe and to inspire one another. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I know that there's going to be people that will want to connect with you. So those people that do want to connect with you, how do they do that?
The easiest thing is just go on raindropmovement.com, or you can also find me on Instagram under Raindrop Movement or Nada Mesqui.
Mesquite. That's right. Don't add any more letters to it. Well, excellent. Because I know that many of you out there that if you've been following the podcast, you know that in the description, as soon as you get done listening, you can go to the description, whether it's on YouTube or Apple or Spotify or whichever platform you're listening on, go to the description and you will see Nada's links that she just mentioned are right there. So you can go directly, hit the link and get in touch with her because I know many of you are going to want to find out more about the Raindrop movement and what she has to offer you to bring you back in touch with yourself and reconnecting you with other people as well, because it is about a global connection. I truly believe and agree with you 100% that when we reach out and we get our heads out of our phones and our computers, even though that's what people are probably looking and listening on right now, but knowing that there is a place and time for all of that. And when we're not doing that, let's reconnect with one another because we're stronger together and we can grow more when we work together and get in tune with ourselves. Once again, Nada, thank you very much for all your words of wisdom and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much, Patty.
Well, and for all of you out there listening, remember to subscribe and follow this podcast. Invite your friends and family to also join in and listen. And know that I would love to hear your comments. And if you would write a review for it, that would be absolutely wonderful. I would love that. Don't forget to check out my website at www.pathwayswithpatty.org. Sign up for a Zoom chat with me. And you can also get my Pathway to a New Beginning roadmap. So until we meet again, continue to live your best dash and know that life's an adventure, and I want you to enjoy the journey because your life matters. Thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you all.